25 Americans were killed during protests and political unrest in 2020. Check out what Maxine Waters has to say about BLM protests.
We got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
Meanwhile, according to a Children and COVID-19 state-level data report, children represent only 13.6% of total COVID cases, and COVID-19 associated hospitalization and death is uncommon in children. But when some awesome adults try to teach children here in the U.S. about bodily autonomy and freedom, they are, of course, met with opposition from the top down. And of course, I had my little response to that. Welcome back to the channel. This is Anna's Thoughts and Musical Parodies, and I am Anna, your hostess. So today we're talking about a couple different examples of how the left and the media and the people in the government, especially with this current administration, tend to call really good things really bad things, and vice versa. As you saw already with the difference in response to the rioting and mask off protests, which I like to call bodily autonomy protests, because that's what it really is in my mind. So stay tuned, and I hope you get something out of that. But first, by the way, this shirt that I'm wearing is another one that I designed that you can get in the merch store. There is the back of it. Any support that I get from people who watch my YouTube or BitChute channels or on Rumble is the only income that I have at the moment. But in the meantime, if you'd like to check out the merch store, I would very greatly appreciate it. And another way that you can support is through Patreon, starting at just $3 a month. That will get you exclusive content every month that nobody else gets, and you will get discounts on all of the merchandise that I've ever designed or ever will design in the future. Speaking of which, there are plans in the works to put this image onto some new merch to go along with my Learning How to Skateboard series. The link will always be in the description, so if you wanted to check it out, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much to everyone who has supported in the past and who will in the future. And now let's get back into the video. We even had a warning from a law firm against wearing a mask while driving just days before someone in New Jersey was killed from doing just that. The Vanderbilt COVID report on masks and deaths in Tennessee shows that the rates of COVID cases went down from July to October 2020, despite only 2/3 of the population in Tennessee being required to wear masks. And finally, New Hampshire, which had nothing but a mask mandate during the holidays, was named the safest state during COVID-19. But we are forced and coerced and brainwashed into wearing these stupid masks on our faces, sometimes all hours of the day, no matter where we are, which leads to sad situations like this happening all the time around where I live. Here we have someone who's going to die sooner because they're an older person wearing a mask inside the car. I actually feel really sad about that, and the windows are rolled up. That's how you suffocate. Don't be like this man. So the clip at the beginning from Maxine Waters was her response to how protesters, BLM protesters, should respond if Derek Chauvin was not convicted as a murderer. And unfortunately, a great injustice was done, and he was convicted in such a way. However, I did really enjoy the response to Maxine Waters from the judge on that case. We're going to play that now.
I'm aware that Congresswoman Waters was talking specifically about this trial and about the unacceptability of anything less than a murder conviction, and talk about being confrontational. This goes back to what I've been saying from the beginning. I wish elected officials would stop talking about this case, especially in a manner that is disrespectful to the rule of law and to the judicial branch and our function. I think if they want to give their opinions, they should do so in a respectful and in a manner that is consistent with their oath to the Constitution. To respect a co-equal branch of government. Their failure to do so, I think, is abhorrent. Beyond the articles that we're talking specifically about the facts of this case, a congresswoman's opinion really doesn't matter a whole lot.
I appreciate that this judge didn't want Maxine Waters or any other politicians stirring up more anger and excitement and probably violence and looting than was already going on and messing with the judicial process. And I just think it's pretty crazy that the powers that be and the media and everything really does seem to push a divide and conquer strategy. It's not really crazy. It's something I've been seeing for a while, but it's something that is good to be aware of so that we can overcome that with the love of God that comes through Jesus Christ and just with our general knowledge of the bigger picture of things just sets us apart to be able to react in whatever ways we see fit for our own lives. So to tie everything that we've talked about so far together and to transition into our next topic, here is the verse of the day. What sorrow for those who say that evil is good and good is evil, that dark is light and light is dark, that bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter. Isaiah 5:20. All right, so the story of Micaiah Bryant is our last subject, and I, just like so many other people, am very thankful that she was stopped from murdering the other woman who she was coming after with the knife. And from what I've seen and heard, this was a butcher knife. This wasn't just some little pocket knife. This was a pretty serious situation. So I'm very glad that she was stopped from stabbing the other woman. It's unfortunate that she had to die, but she, just like Daunte Wright and everybody usually before them, put herself in this situation and had to pay the price for her own actions. And I couldn't really see any other way that she could have been stopped with how quickly it all happened and all of that. But not everybody agrees with my analysis of this. So first, let's take a look at the body cam footage of what actually happened.
Bryant with a knife in hand going after one of the women, a man kicking that woman. Then Bryant appears to raise a knife at that other woman by the car. The Bureau of Criminal Investigation is looking into this shooting to determine if Columbus police officer Nicholas Reardon was justified in using deadly force.
So one of the biggest things that stands out to me that I haven't seen anybody talking about yet is this man who was helping Micaiah to basically attack the other two women. I don't know what those women were doing in the first place. You know, it's probably all a big mess. But I do wonder if anything's going to happen to that man for kicking the one woman. But, you know, without police intervention, this could have turned into up to 3 people dying since there were 4 people involved. You know, it could have been like the last person standing is the only one who walks away. So I am glad that, you know, only 1 person had to die. It's better than 3. But let's now look at the body cam footage from a third-person perspective officer.
Shots fired. 200 shots fired. What happened? She's been shot.
I don't know where though.
Guys, both? One of you, both of you? Whatever car he is. Who shot? Reardon? Okay. You want to just get cones and start until he can get the
car? I need a car at Blue Moon and Legion, please.
I assume you guys witnessed, or did you happen to come around just right after it already happened? No, we pulled at the same time.
Sure, we'll go.
Okay. All right. You guys okay right now? Okay. All right.
So there, I just liked the way that I saw everybody on the police force, including the female on the radio, just working so smoothly together, and the guy who seemed like he was maybe the chief making sure everybody was okay, black and white police officers working together in harmony. I also thought it was interesting how most of the time, most of the officers did not find it necessary to wear masks on their faces. That's just something that I noticed. And it seems like it would be helpful in getting the job done accurately, because these are such, important things, situations where very clear communication is necessary. And we all know how much masks inhibit clear communication. So I just thought that was interesting as well. And next we have news coverage of this incident, which I think was actually surprisingly pretty fair and unbiased. So this is the way the news should always strive to be.
Well, Columbus City leaders say they want to be transparent about this investigation. As we mentioned, they released new video and more information about the shooting of Ma'Khia Bryant.
10 TV's Lacey Chris also spoke with Mayor Andrew Ginther.
We all have a collective responsibility as to why a 16-year-old girl would be engaged with others in acts of violence and be attempting to attack others.
Within 24 hours of the Andre Hill shooting, you came out and said Adam Coy should be fired. You said you didn't feel that shooting was justified. Can you come out and say your opinion on the shooting?
I think that was a much more clear-cut case, and obviously want the independent investigation to play out.
Yeah, Ginther explained to me he wants this investigation to be independent, so he did not want to weigh in. Reporting live, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.
And now we have the more emotional and biased takes, starting with the late Ma'Khia Bryant's mother, who apparently wasn't totally involved in her life and had some trouble raising her in the way that she should have, due to the fact that Ma'Khia Bryant was a foster child. Let's see what her mother has to say.
Ma'Khia Bryant's death is, of course, angering people across Central Ohio tonight. But
why? The girl in the pink was saved. Why are you angry about the girl in the pink being saved?
TV's Lacey Cripps talked to Ma'Khia's mother at the scene of that shooting. Paula Bryant says her daughter was an honor roll student and a sweet child.
This never should have happened. She's a loving girl.
Maybe at one point when she was younger or something, she was a loving, sweet girl. But I was in an abusive relationship for 10 years. I was beaten regularly, and I never even slapped that guy back at all, even though a couple times I had the urge to. That's not in my nature because I'm a loving, sweet person. This is not the same.
As the world heard the verdict in the Derek Chauvin case, Paula Bryant's 16-year-old daughter, Ma'Khia, was fatally shot by a Columbus police officer on the city's southeast side.
So I'm aware that this is the same news outlet that I just said put out an episode that was not so biased and actually objective. And so, we're looking at the gray areas, how sometimes certain networks can do things right and other times they don't. And this episode of this news outlet is an example of not doing the right thing. For instance, why did they have to say anything about the George Floyd trial? They're obviously just trying to drum up more emotional response based on nothing really having to do with this case at all.
I'm very upset. I'm hurt. I want answers. My daughter dispatched the Columbus police for protection, not to be a homicide today.
Ma'Khia was staying at a foster home, but Paula tells me the two last saw each other on Thursday.
And she said, "Mommy, I'm looking forward to coming home."
That homecoming won't happen, but Paula explains how she wants her daughter remembered.
Ma'Khia had a motherly nature about her. She promoted peace. And that's something that I want to always be remembered.
All right, so the mother, who of course naturally is going to be the most biased person of all, was saying that Ma'Khia was peaceful and had a motherly nature, promoted peace, all that kind of stuff. My initial reaction to that, as I'm sure most people's is that, that's laughable. How is coming after somebody with a butcher knife promoting peace? But it makes me think a little bit more about it. I want to be very honest and unbiased myself. And so, there is the possibility, of course, that these two women initially came after Ma'Khia. I don't know, because we haven't seen that part of the situation. I don't know if we ever will. But even if they were coming after her, in the same way that people are saying, oh, couldn't police have just fired a warning shot or just shot them in the leg or something like that, which is not the way that it works. That can actually harm more people. But in that same vein, why couldn't Micaiah have, ran and hid somewhere and called police, maybe locked herself in a room or something, because her mother said that she apparently was the one who called the police. I have been in a situation one time where my roommates were getting in a bit of a domestic dispute that involved, throwing things, pounding, really loud yelling, a lot of commotion that made me nervous, especially because they had a 5-year-old son who was, present for the whole thing. So what I did is hid in the bathroom, locked myself in my bathroom, and called the police. I didn't try to go get involved and, take it all into my own hands and become an assailant to myself. So that was the fatal mistake that Micaiah Bryant made. And now for the most emotional, sappy take of all, as always, from everybody's favorite Don Lemon of CNN. But I find it interesting that even CNN couldn't twist this one as much as they usually love to do.
Every case is different, and we don't know all the facts about this one. But we do know that a black 16-year-old girl, Micaiah Bryant, was shot to death by a police officer in Columbus, Ohio.
Black 16-year-old girl, Micaiah Bryant.
Questions about the use of force here are very different, since, in a series of clips from police body cam video, the girl is seen holding a knife during a tussle with another young woman.
And I wish that this were the last time that I'd have to warn you. It is graphic.
She had a knife. She just went at her.
She's a man. Take a shot. Damn, are you stupid?
The city's public safety director saying this.
As Chief Woods has indicated, a fully independent investigation is being conducted by BCI. The results will be public. So I plead with the community, let us not rush to judgment. As I said last night, fast facts should not come at the cost of complete and accurate facts.
People are angry watching another video like this, and I get it. But even in our anguish, we cannot abandon the responsibility we have to be fair. And even while our hearts are hurting, we have to judge each incident based on what we see and the facts we know. When I look at this video, I see police responding to a dangerous incident where someone is armed with a knife. Police have walked up on a situation they need to figure out what's happening. Other lives are in danger. If we're going to discuss this case, we need to be honest and use our common sense. We cannot have a double standard. We have to acknowledge that police have jobs to do.
It would be nice if that was what CNN always actually did, but I digress.
Today, I'm announcing that the Justice Department has opened a civil investigation to determine whether the Minneapolis Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of unconstitutional or unlawful policing.
Sounds like a huge waste of time and resources when the police obviously have a lot of actual work to do, but okay.
Minneapolis police leadership pledging to cooperate now.
It's been almost a year since George Floyd died, and Congress has yet to pass a single police reform bill.
Yeah, because like I said, that's a waste of time and we don't need it.
What is happening is that President Joe Biden is set to discuss police reform in his first address to a joint session of Congress in a week from tonight.
Oh gosh, okay.
Ohio's tough. It is really, really, really tough. Damn.
You were really to be honest, let's let the audience into something.
So Don and I heard about this story last night on social media while we were doing coverage for you of the Chauvin verdict last night. And the initial reports didn't seem right. And it was so interesting for me, as emotional and personal as these stories are to someone of color, especially Don, you with your background, you were cautious about it. Because there was a lot of emotion, and understandably so. You got a 16-year-old kid that's gone. Yeah. And it's a hard one. I do not know how to explain this to people in a way that doesn't make somebody very angry.
Well, yes, and we're dealing with a lot of emotion right now.
I see it. If the woman in the pink was my sister, niece, wife, whatever, you have to make a decision. Is one life on that scene more valuable than another? And if someone is trying to take a life on that scene, do you protect the life of the person trying to take the life, or do you protect the life of the person whose life is in imminent danger at that point?
You know what that makes me think of that is actually really important? Makes me think of when people are ready to commit legal abortions that put the life of the innocent child at risk. I think no matter what, usually it's not worth taking that innocent life, even if it's to potentially save another, because God can do anything. And if women are willing to honor God with their actions and choices, He will honor them.
Look, I feel for I feel for, you always feel for everybody involved. Sometimes I don't feel for certain parties as much as others, but I feel for that officer. You could hear it in his voice when he said, you know, the man on the side was saying, you know, you shot my baby, and he said she had a knife, she went right at her.
Well, it is nice to see some empathy for police officers from CNN, assuming that that was genuine at all. And that's that for now on that subject. And that is the video. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to know what everybody's thoughts are on this topic. Please share with other people in your life who would also find this interesting. Click the thumbs up since you made it all the way to the end of the video and loved it enough to get all the way here. Have a wonderful night, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time zone you are in. Thank you so much to everyone who has supported. And if you would like to support, check out the links in the description. And I will see you next time. Bye.
Ain't nobody